Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the Star Destroyer build. I don't know if anybody's still watching out there, but I figured I'd record this anyway. Maybe I can look back in fond memory of this build and follow it when I get bored, I guess. Yeah, so it's starting to look like a Star Destroyer now. I installed the side pieces. They're only super glued in right now. I use some CA glue to hold them, and then I'll go in later and use epoxy to seal them in place. So I don't have to worry about them moving because these are going to support the whole top of the ship. It seems like they lined up pretty well. I had to file them down for length and for height because they weren't completely even. Luckily there's only 2 per side, so it's not that big of a deal. There's only one seam that you have to level, and it joins in really nicely. And after I clean that up a little bit and paint it, you won't even see it, which is really nice. And also, one other thing that's really nice is it actually covers part of the seam, most of the seam on the outside of the ship where you join the back and front pieces together. So that's pretty nice too. It lined up real nice at the tip, and it's straight now. Before it was not, so I had to, it was pretty complicated to do because I had to make sure that I was using a straight piece. So these pieces were actually straight, and I used my ruler to figure out, to make sure. So these were straight, this was not. So I had to bring up, instead of pushing this piece down when I glued it in, everything would have been warped. So I had to install the front and the back piece, part of the piece, and then there was a big gap in here that kind of bowed down, and I had to turn this over and basically hit it with the heat gun until it was pliable enough where I could kind of move it and push down so everything straightened out. So it looks pretty good now. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking with the heat gun because I didn't want to melt anything, and it was too big to put in hot water or anything, so heat gun was my only option. So I was kind of nervous I was going to melt a hole in this thing or something, but it worked out. And the nose piece fits in real nice, and everything fits. I just hope that the back piece fits as well. So it's looking good. Now I have to run all the fiber in the side pieces, and luckily I got my fiber shipment today. So the total so far for fiber optic is about, I had some left over on a 500-foot roll. I'd say a little over 100 feet left, and I used all that, and then I used another 500-foot roll, and I got another 1,000-foot roll today. So I've used about 600 and let's say 650 feet so far, and I still have to do these sides and some pieces of this, which I'm not really sure how easy that's going to be because this piece is pretty thick, so I don't know how I'm going to, I'll figure it out later. Because there are some lights around this piece, and I think around these two, but I'm not sure. I'll have to check. And maybe around here. I've seen guys do it, so it can be done. I'll figure it out. Speaking of lighting, I was talking about the bottom bay and how I was going to figure out how to light it. So I looked at this part a little more, and it looks like there's a lot of windows all along the inside. I don't know if they're windows or if they're supposed to be just panels, or they look like windows. So I was going to drill holes in this and put LEDs in, or drill holes and light it from behind with strip LEDs, but that involved drilling a lot of holes, and not only that, I'd have to cut around and clean them all up and everything, and it might look okay, but then you'd get streaks of light versus a full-on kind of light, which is, it's kind of totally illuminated. There's not beams of light going. I thought it would look stupid. So this piece, I made a copy of it in clear. So this is clear resin. It's an exact copy of the original part. So this piece, you can get some really nice lighting, and I could light it any way I want. I could mask off with black paint what I don't want to be lit, and leave the rest lit. And I mean, it's probably not going to show up very well on the camera at all, but this whole thing will light up. So I can, like I said, I can mask off windows and paint the whole thing, and then leave them. And if it's too much light, I can paint over windows. So I have a lot more flexibility with this. You always do with clear resin. So we'll see how this goes. I think this is going to work out. So it fits perfectly in there. It's keyed. So there's a front, obviously a front and a back, because there's a hook that goes in here. So that fits, and I can easily seal around that with epoxy and light block it, so you won't see anything you shouldn't see. So this should look pretty cool. It's a great fit. So that's what it's going to look like. You can kind of see, I mean, that's kind of how it should look. So, I don't know. That's probably the best idea that I could come up with for lighting this with even light. So, I'll have to see. I'll play around and see how it works. Got my 10mm LEDs for the main engines. These might be overkill. I'm not sure. These things you could probably light a small house with. I guess they're a lot bigger than I thought. I don't know. These are 10mm cool white LEDs, and I think if I put them back far enough in behind the engine, I think they'll work, and they'll be a lot better than 5mm, which I think will be too small. If they're too big, it's no big deal. I'm sure I'll use them for something else, but I'll have to drill these out and test it. I did make a test hole in here, and this whole piece is solid, this whole back piece, so that's going to be messy drilling out, but I thought it might have been hollow, but it's not. So this piece is solid resin. So when I'll have to drill through this and light it and see how it looks with the big LED. So that's what I got done so far. Back to doing fiber on this part, and I'll come back when I have more of that done and give you an update. That's it for now. So the instructions were actually better than I thought. I should have actually read them before I started talking smack. They're descriptive enough, let's put it that way. They at least tell you, I didn't see this, but in the back of the engine panel, there's all these holes in the part, and I was like, well, there's definitely parts that go in there. So this actually tells you where there's ductwork that goes in there. And I remember seeing those holes, so I know where some of the small parts go. And also it does tell you where the photo etch goes, which is these little bars that go on the shield generator domes on the braces on the bottom. So that's cool. So at least I won't be guessing where, most of these parts go. And I think I have to look at the small parts again. I didn't even take them out of the bag yet, so I'm not sure, but I I think I have all the parts accounted for. Unless I overlook something, I think I know where everything goes. So the instructions were definitely adequate for this kit.